Welcome, gamers and readers. I am MonriaTitans, the writer of the Opinions and Truth blog and the host of the Weekend Game Show, where I educate on and discuss different aspects of game development to show why video games can take years to make to prevent another Cyberpunk 2077 launch scenario. And one of the ways I do this is with the Let's Read Some Shit videos, where I read aloud portions, emphasis on portions, for DMCA and copyright reasons, of a couple of books regarding video games, their creation, their impact on the world, to show the legitimacy. I do not know why I have a hard time saying that word. Legitimacy of video games as an artistic medium, and or whatever I feel like reading at the time. In addition, I also hope to promote literacy as a whole, hence the part about whatever I feel like reading at the time. Reading is a great form of escapism, which is why I also pop up in here with fantasy fiction books. I also provide artist shoutouts to human artists to combat AI art theft. All of them can be seen on the Become Empowered Instagram, all one word, one E in the middle. All rights reserved by the artists. Hashtag create, don't scrape. If this is something you're interested in, then you can find the other videos on my YouTube channel under the handle at MonriaTitans, and also on Buy Me a Coffee, where educational quotes regarding video games and literacy are shared. Although right now I'm taking a bit of a break because I kind of burnt myself out a little bit in April. If you tip through Buy Me a Coffee, 15% of the proceeds minimum go to Kids Need to Read, whose mission is to help children discover the joy of reading and the power of a literate mind. Wow. Anyway, so today I will be reading portions of two books, and they are right there. They are fiction, not quite fantasy, but definitely fiction books. The first one is No Easy Target by Iris, hopefully I'm saying the last name right, Johansen, and Red Wolf by Liza Marklund. Again, we'll only be reading portions, and they go as follows. Well, rewind. These tend to go about an hour-ish, can be longer, can be shorter. I'm going back to my two-book format because I have something in the slow cooker that should be done in about an hour. So I'm keeping it hopefully short. And they tend to go as follows, whether I'm reading educational books or entertainment books, although some educational can be entertainment. Anyway, read the summary on the back of the book or inside the book, if applicable. They need to go back to putting them on the back of the book. Read the foreword, preface, and acknowledgments, if applicable. If there is no introduction, read part of the first chapter. Alright, so, real quick, starting with Iris Johansen, No Easy Target. I should add to that, when we're talking about fiction books, they have little blurbs about the author. So I will read that as well. And there are little blurbs for both of them on the to-do list. And if you're interested in snagging either of these, there will be affiliate links to bookshop.org in the description. So, starting, Iris Johansen, No Easy Target. The summary is on the inside cover and goes as follows. Margaret Douglas has worked hard to put her painful past behind her. Where did my little read assist thing go? I'll use this. Alright, restarting. Sorry. Margaret Douglas has worked hard to put her painful past behind her. Raised off the grid in an abusive home, her only escape was the nearby forest in which she sought refuge whenever she could. Sought refuge. Whenever she could. There, in the peaceful woods, she discovered a strange gift, the ability to understand animals and to communicate with them. And so, those creatures became her only friends, her only joy during a desolate childhood. Now, Margaret wants nothing more than to live a quiet life, close to the animals and under the radar. But her abilities have not gone unnoticed, and there are those who would use them for their own purposes. Determined not to be a pawn in anyone's game, every time someone gets too close, Margaret uproots her life and outruns them. When John Lasseter breaks into Margaret's apartment, she vanishes again, but Lasseter has good reason to be persistent. As a CIA operative, he owes his life to his men, one of whom is being held captive by an unrelenting enemy, an enemy who has set his sights on Margaret, which means that Lasseter must control her to use her as bait. With danger in hot pursuit, Margaret finds herself matching wits with a man who refuses to stop or be stopped. Turning from the hunted to the hunter, Margaret must use everything she has ever learned to not only survive, but also to defeat a great evil, and to prove once and for all that she's no easy target. Come full circle to the title. So, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I should probably read the summary of the author, then the summary, then part of the first chapter. I'll do that for Red Wolf. So, Iris Johansen is the New York Times best-selling author of Hideaway, Shadowplay, Your Next Breath, The Perfect Witness, Live to See Tomorrow, Silencing Eve, Hunting Eve, Taking Eve, Sleep No More, What Doesn't Kill You, Bonnie, Quinn, Eve, Chasing the Night, 8 Days to Live, Blood Game, Deadlock, Dark Summer, Pandora's Daughter, Quicksand, Killer Dreams, On the Run, Countdown, Firestorm, Fatal Tide, Dead Aim, and more. I mean, you might as well just listed all of them in this. Listed enough. Anyway, and with her son, Roy Johansen, she has co-authored Night Watch, Sight Unseen, Close Your Eyes, Shadow Zone, Storm Cycle, and Silent Thunder. Good job, woman. And you can find more about her at www.irisjohansen.com. Alright, and the jacket was designed by Rob Grom. And this was published by St. Martin's Press. Might as well say, since it's right there in front of my face. So, no easy targets. This is a work of fiction. All of the characters, organizations, and events are This is a work of fiction. All of the characters, organizations, and events portrayed in this novel are either products of the author's imagination or are used fictitiously. Alright, so I'm going to read part of Chapter 1. San Diego Zoo. Not mine. Don't get angry. Margaret Douglas tried to make the thought soothing, but there was little you could do to soothe a female tiger as bad-tempered as Zaran. Margaret had only just forged a link between them, and it would take time and patience to influence her. Even now, the Sumatran tigress was baring those sharp white teeth and glaring menacingly at her. She was probably not going to listen. I'm just asking you to consider that the cub might be your own. Everyone here at the zoo appears to think so. Stupid. Not mine. Margaret tried something else. Let me try to help you remember when the cub was born. It mine. Not mine! The thought was immediately followed by a roar. The tigress's green eyes were blazing as she gathered the muscles in her powerful body and then bounded at top speed across the cage toward Margaret. Zaren's lunge just missed Margaret as she dove out of the cage and slammed the gate behind her. Margaret drew a deep breath as she got to her feet and stared back at the roaring tigress through the bars. Close. Very close. Not polite, Zaren. I'm just trying to help. The tigress was still pawing through the bars at her. Stupid! What the hell are you doing? One of the zookeepers was striding toward Margaret. You volunteers are supposed to feed and water the animals, not get them all upset. He evidently hadn't seen her in the cage, thank heavens. The tigers are a little testy, aren't they? She smiled. I wasn't feeding her. I was just thinking about cleaning her cage. Maybe I'll wait for a while. You shouldn't be near her anyway. Why do you think she's not in the habitat? The vets are having problems with her. She's not been accepting her cub. Cub. Right. Sorry. She started to walk toward the road. I'll go help out at the vet's clinic instead. She glanced back over her shoulder at the tigress. But think about it, Zaren. I'll get back to you later. Not mine. We'll see. Not exactly a successful session with the tigress, she thought ruefully, as she paused to get a Coke at a refreshment stand. But no one else at the zoo had gotten any response at all, and they might give up soon. She couldn't let that happen. It would have a lifetime of consequences for that cub. She would just have to let Zaren settle down and then go back later and try again. Her phone was vibrating in her pocket, and she vaguely remembered it also doing that when she'd been in the cage with the tigress. Not surprising that she hadn't paid any attention to it. She pulled it out and checked it. A text from Eve Duncan. Call me. She smiled as she dropped down on one of the green park benches at the side of the road. She hadn't talked to Eve in too long a time. Eve could be demanding, too, when it suited her, but she was one of Margaret's few friends, and she'd much rather try to soothe Eve than that tigress. She started to dial Eve's number at the lake cottage. That's not too bad a place to stop. I wasn't planning on having this be long anyway. So, hopefully I did that justice. Moving on to Red Wolf. This time I will start with the summary about Liza Marklund. Right. So Liza Marklund is an author, journalist, columnist, and goodwill ambassador for UNICEF. Ugh. She is also the co-owner of, I think that's German, Pirat for Leggett. The third biggest publishing house in Sweden. Oh. What do they speak over there? I'll look it up later. Since her debut in 1995, Liza Marklund has written 11 novels and 2 nonfiction books. Her crime novels featuring the relentless reporter Annika Bengtsson instantly became international hits and have sold millions of copies in 30 languages worldwide. Liza Marklund lives with her family in Stockholm, Sweden, and Marbella, Spain, where she is currently at work on the next installment of the Annika Bengtsson series. Visit her website at www.lisamarklund.com. Jacket designed by Anna Dorfman. All right, book summary. So, beneath a dark winter sky, death waits patiently. A journalist is murdered in the frozen white landscape of a northern Swedish town. Annika Bengtsson, a reporter at a Stockholm-based tabloid, was planning to interview him about a long-ago attack against an isolated airbase nearby, and now she suspects that his death is linked to that attack. Against the explicit orders of her boss, she begins to investigate the event, which is soon followed by a series of shocking murders. Annika knows the murderers are connected. At the same time, she begins to suspect that her husband is hiding something, and nothing can counteract the loneliness that has crept into her life. Behind everything lurks the figure of the Red Wolf, a cold-blooded killer with the soul of a lover. In the end, she must discover the truth not only about the murders, but also about the lies that are destroying her own family. Ew. Also by Liza Marklund. Technically, I did kind of read that part, huh? With no easy target. So, also by Liza Marklund, Primetime, Paradise, Studio 69, The Bomber. Atria Books. This book is a work of fiction. Names, characters, places, and incidents either are products of the author's imagination or are used fictitiously. Any resemblance to actual events or locales or persons, living or dead, is entirely coincidental. Ooh, prologue. That I'll read the entirety of. He had never been able to stand the sight of blood. There was something about the consistency, thick and pulsating. He knew it was irrational, especially for someone like him. Recently, this revulsion had crept into his dreams, taking expression in ways he couldn't control. He looked down at his hands and saw they were covered in dark red human blood. It was dripping onto his trousers, still warm and sticky. The smell hit his nose. He jerked back in panic and tried to shake it off. "Hey, we're here." The voice seeped through the thin membrane of sleep, making the blood suddenly vanish. The intense feeling of nausea remained, and the sharp cold rushing in through the door of the bus. The driver hunched his shoulders in a vain attempt to escape it. "Unless you want to come down to the garage?" All the other passengers had got off the airport bus. He stood up with an effort, bent over with pain. He picked up his duffel bag from the seat, muttering, "Merci beaucoup." The jolt as his feet hit the ground made him groan. He leaned against the frosted side paneling of the bus for a moment, rubbing his forehead. A woman in a crocheted hat on her way to the local bus stop a bit farther on stopped next to his duffel bag. There was genuine concern in her eyes. Her back bowed as she leaned toward him. "Are you all right? Do you need help?" He acted strongly and immediately, waving his hand in her face. Les amours," he said, far too loudly, panting from the effort. The woman didn't move, just blinked a few times with her mouth open. Êtes-vous sourde? My French is horrible. I think that's French. J'ai déjà dit les mots. I think. Her expression crumpled in the face of his aggression, and she backed away with an offended look in her eyes. He watched her go, heavy and thick-set, plodding toward the number 3 with her bulging carrier bags. "I wonder if this is how I sound," he thought, "when I speak Swedish." That answered that question. Realized that his thoughts were actually formulating themselves in his mother tongue. Independence, he thought, forcing his brain back into French. Je suis mon propre maître? The woman glared at him before getting on the bus. He stood there in the diesel fumes as the buses slid away and the street emptied of people, listening to the silence of the cold, absorbing the shadowless light. Nowhere on Earth was outer space as close as it was at the polar circle. When he was growing up, he took the isolation for granted, not realizing the significance of living on the roof of the world. But he could see them now, as clearly as if they were engraved on the streets. The buildings, the frozen conifers, isolation and exposure, endless distance. So familiar, and yet so alien. This is a harsh place, he thought, in Swedish once more. A town that's frozen solid and only exists on state subsidies and steel. Then, just like me. He carefully lifted the strap of the bag over his shoulder and chest and started to walk toward the entrance of the city hotel. The exterior, from the turn of the last century, was just as he remembered, but he had no way of knowing whether the interior had changed. During his time in Lully, he had never had any reason to enter the citadel of the Burgess. Whew. There's a word I've never seen before. Bourgeoisie? I'll spell it. Bourgeoisie. The receptionist welcomed the old Frenchman with distracted politeness, checked him into a room on the second floor, told him when breakfast was served, gave him the plastic card with the magnetic strip that would open the door, and promptly forgot all about him. Promptly. You're least visible in a sea of people, he thought, thanking her in broken English and heading off to the elevators. The room was ingratiating. Wow. In an insecure and shameless way. The ambition and cost suggested luxury and tradition, indicated by cool tiling and replicas of fashionable furniture. Behind the facade, he could see dirty windows and grubby fiberglass walls. He sat on the bed for a moment, looking out at the twilight, unless it was still dawn. The sea view that the website boasted about consisted of gray water, some wooden buildings next to a harbor, a neon sign, and a large black roof. He was on the verge of falling asleep again and shook himself to clear his head, once again noticing the smell emanating from him. He got up and opened his bag, then went to the desk where he lined up his medicines, starting with the painkillers, then lay down on the bed as the nausea gradually eased. So he was finally here. La morte est ici. La morte est ici? Death is here. And I will end it there. Although the first chapter starts with Tuesday, is titled Tuesday, November 10th. But again, ending it there. So, I didn't have a whole lot of fights with Pixel Chat this time. I'm so happy. Alright, so definitely gonna have to pick up Liza Marklund after I finish another book on my to-be-read stack. Now, at one point, I was reading Iris Johansen's book, No Easy Target. The bookmark is still in it, but I had to stop because I got bored. Like the first parts, especially that beginning portion, really hooked me in. And all her escape attempts were really, really fascinating. I'm not going to tell you what made me get bored, but after all that subsided, I got bored and couldn't keep reading. I'll probably pick this back up later because I really want to see if they rescue the dude being held captive. I may end up just hopping to the end of the book, though. Red Wolf I have yet to start reading, but I really want to after reading that prologue. And there's my little bit of 2 cents. And with that, were we on Twitch, those whatchamacallits commands would make more sense. So I will have those links in the description of the YouTube video. There's a Discord. You can get to the Discord. All the links and things. But instead of putting all the links to my social media, I will have a card link for you folks. The links to get to the books for anyone who's interested will also be in the description. And if you'd wish to support me and my efforts, there are actually 4 places to do that, depending on what it is you want to support. I do my own art under Titans Monria Art. If you wish to support me there, there's the Ko-fi, Titans Monria Art. I didn't show a artist shout out today because I do those on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, but if you wish to see the rest of them, you can go to ko-fi.com/artist shoutouts. If you want to support the streaming, where I stream myself playing video games and giving commentary, that's MonriaTitans WGS. If you just want to support the technically the Let's Read Some Shit videos are part of MonriaTitans WGS, but if you want to support literacy, my literacy efforts, spreading literacy as a whole, getting books out there for individuals who are looking for escapism, then that's buymeacoffee.com/MonriaTitans. Although my most favorite thing is bookshop.org, what I like to call the Etsy for small business bookstores. Their mission is to help small business bookstores in the age of e-commerce, and they actually pay their taxes. So if you want to get away from Amazon, get books for your health, support me, you can go to bookshop.org/shop/MonriaTitans and check out my bookstore. There's a section for game design. If you want to be a writer or a game designer, you need to read a lot and write a lot and play a lot of different games if you want to get into writing for games. So there's a section for game design. There's a section for fun reads, which these might be part of. I now need to go check and see if they're part of that book list or bookshelf. Why am I tired all of a fucking sudden? No, fun reads and mythology. Let me go ahead and add no easy target to that. 1-800, my bad. That should have been there. Anyway, so the book shows that I have currently are best band-centered and challenge books, game industry resources, books based on games, TTRPGville, the never-ending reading list, quoted books, fun reads and mythology, history, essays, and memoirs, and psychology and mental health. I had something else I wanted to say and completely forgot. So, thank you for watching. And now we come to a close. Remember, we are gamers not because we don't have a life, but because we choose to have many, which can also be said of readers. If anyone asks why you like video games, remind them a game is a problem-solving activity approached with a playful attitude, a quote by Jesse Schell. But you could also have a little bit of interaction if you get those books that are written in the second person. I think I had a Spider-Man book like that. And if anyone gives you shit for your interests, tell them you may not like video games, and what I learned from them is this: no enemies in front of you means you are going the wrong way. And if you write a book and conservatives don't want to ban it, are you playing it safe? Or do you just not think about it? I forgot what I actually wanted to say. I had something smart to say until I wanted to say it. Oh. Good girls don't make history. That was the quote. Forgot who said it, though. Anyway, moving on. Thank you for watching. May every decision you make be in the spirit of fairness, and may the rest of your day not go to shit. See you next time.